Hi, if you want to watch exclusive content with hot girls that you won't watch on YouTube, namely where Naruto roasts Kushina and Mikoto and many other hot girls without restrictions, then visit my Boosty channel at the link in the description. It was a sunny summer day. The birds were singing their cheerful songs, some animals were hunting, the sun was shining and giving its warmth to the whole world. In one not very large, but not small village, it was more lively than usual, because today is October 10th. The day of victory over the nine-tailed demon fox, Kyubi no Oko. Everyone spends this holiday with joy from the victory and sorrow for those who died on this great and terrible day. A 4-year-old boy was running down the street of the village hidden in the leaf, known to everyone as Konoha. His red hair was fluttering in the wind and sometimes it seemed like it was on fire. 3 drunk shinobi were running after him. "Stop, demon! We will catch you anyway and avenge our loved ones," the first one shouted. "I will avenge your sister," the second one shouted. "I will avenge you for your father and grandfather," the third one shouted. The boy ran as fast as he could. He was already used to it. Used to this attitude towards himself. But he still didn't understand. "For what?" The boy turned the corner, but there was a dead end. "So you're trapped, demon," said the chunin, rolling up his sleeves, revealing his arms, pumped up from long and hard training. "Today your death will come," said the second chunin, taking a kunai out of his pouch. "Beat him, guys!" the jonin shouted, flexing his fists. The boy endured everything and was ready for his death. He was tired of being treated like this. And now he lies unconscious. One of the 3 raises a kunai behind his head for the final blow, as he is thrown against the wall. An Anbu in a dog mask appears in front of the boy. He knocks out the remaining shinobi and takes the boy to his home, as he knew that the hospital would not accept him. The guy woke up in a place that looked like a sewer, and this only made the situation worse. Am I really dead? Well, that's for the best. At least I won't see those horrible, hateful looks anymore. That doesn't look like heaven, so I'm in hell. Well, at least I'm grateful for that. I'm a demon, so hell is where I belong. The red-haired boy was thinking. The boy heard a powerful roar, he headed down the corridor, and soon the baby came out to a large room with a huge cage. "Is there anyone here?" The boy's voice echoed off the walls of the room. "Well, hello Naruto. I've been waiting for you to come." A deep, growling voice rang out. "Hello? I am Naruto Uzumaki, and who are you?" the red-haired boy asked, bowing his head like a bird. "I am the nine-tailed demon fox, Kyubi no Oko." The creature of enormous size spoke, emerging from the darkness of the cage and showing its bloodshot animal eyes and 9 fluffy foxtails. "I won't reveal all my cards yet. First, I'll test him for malice and greed," the fox thought. And he blurted out his question. "Have you come for my power?" Kyubi looked at the boy. Arrogance was visible in his eyes. But what he heard from the boy's lips made him fall into a stupor. "No. Why do I need your power? You'd better tell me. Where did I end up? If this isn't hell and I'm still alive," the boy said, looking around the room, on the walls of which pipes were hanging. And the boy wondered, "What's flowing in these pipes?" He was pulled out of his thoughts by the bass voice of the fox. "Okay, he's not asking for strength yet. I think it's time to reveal some of my cards," thought the fox and called out to the boy, distracting him from examining the pipes. "You are in your subconscious," the fox said in a deep voice. "I'm glad you don't want my strength. Maybe you want something else?" the fox said, laying his muzzle on his paws, taking a lying position. He looked at the shabby boy and kept wondering. How much has society managed to spoil the boy? "Yes. I have many questions," the boy said after a minute of silence. All this time, his index finger was pressed to his lower lip. "But if you do not want to answer, I will not bother you anymore, Kyubi-san," the boy continued, scratching the back of his head and ruffling the red strands of hair. Wow. I didn't think he would be so polite, considering how these pathetic people treat him. Kyubi was surprised in his thoughts. But he didn't refuse the offer to talk. He was sick of sitting in silence for 4 whole years. "Ask, I'll answer what I can," the fox said in the manner of the Nara, showing that he was lazy. He looked at Naruto with a bored look. "The first question is, what is your name?" The boy asked the first question, which surprised Kyubi. He was the second after Kushina to ask this question. And Kyubi decided that the boy's curiosity was passed on from his mother. "I'll answer that question later," the fox replied with a small grin. "Good. The second question is, how did you end up in my subconscious?" The violet-eyed man asked the next question. The boy's eyes were shining with a question, his head tilted to the side again like a bird. Kyubi noticed this too. This habit was also passed on to him from his mother. "I was sealed inside you when you were born," the fox replied, noticing that the baby did not ask stupid questions. This was also commendable, and pride began to grow inside the fox demon. The third question, did you know my parents? The boy hesitated a little when he asked this question, because he was afraid that it would be the same as with the third old man, who was trying to avoid answering all the time. But to Naruto's surprise, the fox rushed a little and answered this question, which made Rizk very happy. "Well, you see, Naruto," a bit of doubt slipped into the fox's voice. He was scared. He was afraid of the child's reaction. "The thing is, I am your biological father, my name is Kurama Noyoko, and your mother was my previous Jinchuriki," Kyubi answered, waiting for his son's reaction. Long rabbit ears pressed against his head. He expected screams, hysterics, anything. But to the fox's surprise, the boy's reaction was much calmer than he expected. "Wow!" the boy exclaimed in surprise. His violet eyes widened in surprise, and his mouth fell open in silent shock. "So it turns out that my father was sealed inside me all this time? And what was my mother's name?" Overjoyed, the little boy clapped his little hands and asked another question. "Your mother's name was Kushina Uzumaki," the fox replied, smiling slightly at the mention of his first and only love. He plunged into his memories, where the image of the red-haired beast surfaced. He was pulled out of his memories by the ringing voice of his offspring. "Isn't that the fourth Hokage's wife?" the indignant boy asked. His head returned to the bird position, and his long red bangs fell over Naruto's eyes. "Yes, but at the time of their wedding she was already carrying you under her heart," the fox answered, and got a little angry at the mention of the fourth Hokage's name. He was jealous of Kushina for this meat sack that dared to encroach on his beloved. "Please do not mention him in my presence," the fox said, and his right ear twitched in irritation. "Okay, I won't do it again," Rizk answered. He understood how much it hurt his father when he mentioned the name of the homewrecker. "Father, can you tell me more about Mom?" the baby asked again. His little face lit up with a sunny smile, and dimples played on his childish cheeks. Kurama could not refuse his son this request and began to tell the baby about his mother with pleasure. "Good," Kurama answered, grabbing his son in one of his tails and carrying him inside the cage. He sat the baby on his paw, and he himself immersed himself in the story. "Your mother was very beautiful. She had scarlet hair, which when she was angry forgot what gravity was. They rose up and divided into 9 strands. For her hot temper, she was nicknamed the Bloody Habanera." Kyubi briefly told about the one he loved with all his animal heart. His tails fluttered, as if they lived their own lives. And the fox himself was increasingly immersed in nostalgia. "How can I free you?" Rizk asked again. The boy really wanted his father to be with him, free. After all, living in a cage was clearly not pleasant. "You need to break the seal. Open it with the key that is kept on Mount Myoboku, or try to open the cage." Kyubi listed all the methods. He became interested in what his offspring had in mind. "I'll try to open the cage, and you try to break free," Naruto suggested. He jumped off his father's huge paw and went outside the cage. Naruto put his hand to his stomach, trying to open the cage. Kyubi shrank to the size of a normal fox and tried to squeeze through the opening. After some time, he succeeded and the fox found himself behind the bars. No one felt the fox's chakra, because the seal was not removed. All the chakra and killing intent remained behind the cage. "Thank you, son," the fox thanked Rizk, bowing his beastly head in an agreeing gesture. "It's time for you to go, otherwise the one who saved you will start worrying about you." "Don't worry, because now you can communicate with me mentally," Kurama said, taking on a human form. He looked like a man of 24. His hair was long, and some of it was braided into a high kuksa. Aristocratic features were framed by 3 strongly pronounced stripes on each cheek. His eyes glowed ruby and were crossed by a narrow strip of pupil. He was dressed in an orange battle kimono with black patterns and inserts. 2 foxers stuck out on the top of his head, and 9 red tails stretched out behind him in a long train. "Thanks, Dad, well I'll go," said Rizik and hugged his father before dissolving into a small haze. Kurama was surprised out of habit, and continued to stand like a pillar. Naruto was thrown out of his subconscious and woke up on a futon that was conveniently placed on the floor. "Where the hell did they bring me this time?" Naruto thought as he stood up from the futon. His head and stomach ached badly after what he had been through. The shinobi had clearly spared no effort when they had beaten the small body. He tried to look around. Every movement he made was accompanied by aching pain throughout his body, and because of this, he was able to do so with great difficulty. An unremarkable apartment. To the side of it stood a nightstand with a vase and an upside-down frame with a photograph on it. Naruto looked at the window, on the windowsill of which sat a man in an ANBU uniform and a dog mask. He was reading a book with an orange cover. Naruto was familiar with this ANBU, because he always helped him with what he could. The ANBU in the dog mask always brought him benefits for orphans, or could bring bags with food and clothes. In general, he behaved with him like a loving older brother. In fact, Naruto called this ANBU that. "Hello, Dog-sama. Thank you for taking care of me and not leaving me to die in that dark alley," Naruto said, sitting up. He did it with difficulty. The pain in his whole body echoed with aching urges and did not allow him to move normally. "Huh!" The ANBU man tore himself away from contemplating the lines of the novel. Come, Rai," and turned towards the voice. The silver-haired man saw a boy sitting on a futon, writhing in pain. He looked disheveled. His red hair was all disheveled and stood in tangles. His cute face was covered in many bandages hiding cuts from kunai. His hands were completely covered in bandages. He jumped up to him and sat down next to the futon, helping the boy ease the pain with a weak healing technique. Yes, in what, but in medicine the dog was not strong. "Naruto, are you awake already? You're welcome. You know that it makes me happy," the ANBU man said, looking at Naruto. Although the elders forbade him to approach the weapon, but they forbade it to the copy ninja, but nothing was said to the dog. Kurama's POV. When Naruto evaporated, I was still standing in shock. This was the second time I was touched. So, even though my son was not here, I still felt his phantom continuing to squeeze me in his arms. Having woken up, after about 20 minutes, I decided to take a walk through my child's subconscious. I wandered for quite a long time and went around quite a few rooms. There were thousands of them, and each of them was filled to the brim with scrolls and books with the techniques of the Uzumaki clan and the theory of Fuinjutsu, as well as the basic theory of the academy, but not the one that is taught in the leaf, but the one that the Uzumaki studied in their clan. "I'll have to show these rooms to Naruto," I thought with undisguised joy, looking at the giant shelves with books and scrolls. And yet how glad I am that I have such a prudent lover. I think the scrolls with the Uzumaki clan's techniques will come in handy for him, I thought with a happy smile on my face, and walked a little further, finding myself in front of a huge heavy gate with the kanji consciousness. I became curious about what was hidden behind this door, and I opened it slightly. Imagine my surprise when I saw what was hidden behind it. Opening the door, I saw a long tunnel descending into darkness. I went lower and lower, ending up in a spacious, light room. At first I didn't understand what was going on here, but when I raised my head up, I froze in mute shock. There was a net hanging from the ceiling, which was intertwined with thin threads, connecting in some places into kanji. I tried to read the ones that stood out the most. One of them said love, and something about this hieroglyph seemed strange to me. Having increased in size a little, thereby approaching the interweaving of threads that interested me, I, not right away, but noticed a piece of paper right under it. I again strained my animal vision a little, and having read the hieroglyphs, Sakura Horino, I realized that it was a seal. And it had been put quite recently, since the ink was still fresh and had not had time to dry completely. Having examined several more connections of these threads in this way, the same seals were also found on them. For example, on the kanji, mental abilities, there was a seal for stupidity, although I would not dare to call my son stupid, and on the kanji, dream, there was a seal for the zeal to become Hokage. These two seals were put quite a long time ago, approximately when my son had just learned to speak and learn. NPOV Karama. Dog-sama. The red-haired boy called out to the mask. The dog was already finishing replacing the bandages on the boy's wounds, which were healing much faster than those of an ordinary person. The boy was clearly influenced by the heredity of the Uzumaki clan. Is it possible to change the last name somehow? The boy asked, looking at the ANBU soldier with hope in his violet eyes. The ANBU looked up from his efforts. In front of him sat a boy, whose hair was burning red in the bright sun. In his large and childishly naive eyes, one could see the dance of violets. There were many bandages on the child's face, but even they could not cover 3 faint stripes on each cheek. The mouth was stretched in a wide, but childishly sincere smile. On his arms and legs one could see many bandages. In some places blood stains were spreading like red flowers, because no matter what kind of regeneration the boy had, many wounds still bled. Yes, you can, the mask wearer answered, wiping the sweat from his forehead that had appeared from fatigue. Even though he was currently wearing an ANBU mask, no one was stopping him from using genjutsu. What, do you want to change yours? The ANBU asked, not hiding his interest. His only eye looked at the boy with a narrowed gaze. No! The boy exclaimed, shaking his head. His long bangs fell from his forehead, covering the boy's clear eyes. I want to compliment it, the boy said, brushing the unruly strands back onto his forehead. The ANBU found this gesture rather cute, coupled with such a bright and sunny boy, but Rizik's statement left him slightly stunned. Didn't you guess? The ANBU member asked a mental question. His eyes ran over the boy's body, looking for an answer to his unasked question in the boy's facial expressions and gestures. Finding nothing there, the dark eye moved to the boy's violet eyes, hoping to find an answer there. There was something mesmerizing and hypnotizing in the boy's eyes. There was no greed or malice in them, only childish naivety and a little interest. The ANBU man did not find an answer to the unasked question there either. And what surname do you want to add to yours? The dog asked a question that intrigued him. He continued to watch the boy's facial expressions and gestures. He only smiled stupidly and turned his gaze to the window, where the sun had already begun to set. Uzumaki no Oko, the boy said, turning his determined gaze to the elder, meeting the emotionless mask of the ANBU. This look was mesmerizing. Now in the boy's eyes one could also see the stubbornness inherent in the character of the Blood Devils clan. The dog was not surprised by such a change in the boy. He could often observe such changeability in the boy's mother. But another question arose. What kind of Nooko? Nooko? Masked man asked mentally, raising a thin eyebrow under his mask. Never heard of such a clan. Thought dog, writing off all the kid's actions as a child's fantasy. Well, what did you expect from a boy who only turned 5 today? Although the boy looked very small for his age, Naruto didn't mind the elder's thoughts, because he understood that it meant less chances that they would find out that the truth had been revealed ahead of time, and therefore less chances that they would want to reseal his father in another vessel. 2 people entered the Hokage's residence, a guy in a dog mask and a boy with red hair that shone like bronze in the rays of the setting sun. A spacious room appeared before the guys, which called itself the Hokage's office. There were quite a few shelves with various kinds of documentation along the walls. Opposite them, on another wall, hung portraits of the previous rulers of the village. Everything from the first Hokage, nicknamed the God of Shinobi, to the 4th, who left this world not so long ago, only 5 years ago. Opposite the guys there was a huge panoramic window, which opened up a magnificent view of all of Konoha in all its evening beauty. The light from the setting sun, breaking through the window, illuminated a large table with many documents. An old man sat at the table, his height barely exceeding that of Rizik himself. The old man was puffing on his pipe, nervously glancing at the mountains of documents that were growing with each hour, although they should have been decreasing. Hi, Hokage-sama, the dog said, getting up on one knee. The old man turned his tired eyes to the new arrivals and smiled slightly. There was so much weariness in that smile that Naruto instantly lost his desire to become Hokage. Dog? Naruto? Did you want something? The old man asked, looking at the boy and the guy who did not dare to raise his head from the floor. The boy smiled an encouraging smile and looked at the old man, whom he considered his grandfather. Yes, Hokage-sama. A clear child's voice rang out. The boy really tried to cheer the old man up, at least this way. I want to add to my family name and the clan crest. The boy, whose hair resembled fox fur, and whose eyes were waltzing with violets, said in all seriousness. To say that the Hokage was shocked was to say nothing. He was shocked. And thoughts like, did he really guess? How? When? Who revealed the secret? And so on were spinning in his head. The old man glanced nervously at the boy, looking for answers to at least half of his questions in his behavior. But like the dog earlier, he found nothing there. And how do you want to add to the family name and crest? The old man asked, nervously swallowing a lump in his throat and releasing a small cloud of tobacco smoke into the air. This boy would definitely give him a heart attack soon. Naruto, in turn, continued to smile stupidly. The family name will be Uzumaki no Oko, and on the coat of arms I want a fox to appear, with which the whirlpool will form yin and yang. The boy said about the changes. He roughly conveyed how it should look. The Hokage swallowed nervously, thinking that the boy's imagination was simply running wild. Okay, the Monkey King said, taking a deep breath. His coal eyes darted from Naruto to the ANBU, who was still kneeling on one knee, not daring to tear his gaze away from the wooden floor of the office. Is that all? His tired gaze darted back to the boy who stood examining the bandages on his right hand. The boy was always getting into trouble, but for him to come to him in bandages, that was the first time in Hokage's memory. The old man decided to figure out what had happened a little later. Yes, Hokage-sama, the boy said, nodding in confirmation. The violet eyes returned to the old man, who continued to blow smoke into the air. Then come tomorrow to get new documents and new clothes with the coat of arms, said the old man, dragging on his pipe, the tobacco in which was grown on the territory of the Sarutobi clan. This tobacco was considered medicinal. It restored chakra and extended the life of the clan. Therefore the Sarutobi clan was considered a clan of long livers. Hi, Hokage-sama, the boy said and bowed as a sign of respect, after which he left the residence. Only the Hokage and his subordinate remained in the office. Hokage-sama, do you know information about the Noyoko clan? The dog asked, not daring to raise his head and still standing on one knee. Hiruzen only shook his head. Rising from his comfortable chair, the old man walked up to the window and looked around the entire evening Konoha. His gaze caught on a shock of red, fox-like hair, moving away from the building of the residence. No poop! A hoarse old voice sounded. The gaze of coal eyes followed the boy, who soon disappeared from sight, going around one of the many turns of the evening Konoha. We can only guess where he dug up this last name, the old man third said, releasing a cloud of smoke into the air. The sky that evening was painted a bright red hue, reminding both the old man and the young ANBU of the boy who had recently torn apart the oppressive silence in the room that called itself the Hokage's office with his ringing voice. 2 years later. Naruto's POV. I woke up from the screams in my subconscious that it was time to get up. It was my father. Since I learned the whole truth, I got up only like this. My father always loved such unusual ways of waking up. I won't be surprised if someday he wakes me up by pouring cold water from a bucket or basin. But that will be when I am strong enough and my father can leave my subconscious. But for now I am still too weak. I opened my eyes and looked at the clock. It was 6 in the morning. I got up from the futon, did water procedures and warm-ups, read the scroll on the theory of Fuin and started to prepare breakfast. Yesterday, Dog-sama brought me fresh food, for which I am very grateful. Today I decided to cook curry, according to my mother's recipe. As Dad said, after my mother's death, all the books and scrolls were automatically sealed in my subconscious. I'm glad I had such a sensible mother, and she put seals on several of her cookbooks. Soon my breakfast was already on the table, and I thanked Kami-sama for the fact that I would eat well today, and began to devour my culinary creation. As I understood, I also inherited my culinary genius skills from my wonderful mother. After breakfast, I headed to the academy. How I didn't want to go there, because I already knew all the ninja theory by heart, even more than a novice genin could use. But today was the first day of school, so I can't be late. NPOV Naruto. Naruto was the first to arrive at the academy, as there were still 2 hours left before the opening. Having decided to talk to his father, Naruto climbed onto a tree branch with a pair of swings hanging on it, and crawled into the subconscious. Naruto was dressed in an orange t-shirt with a whirlpool and fox sign merging into a yin-yang sign on the back, black knee-length shorts and shinobi sandals of the same color. Young Uzumaki no Oko had grown his hair to his shoulders and braided it into a high ponytail, reminiscent of a fox. The boy's gaze became less childish and more conscious with each passing year, which undoubtedly frightened the residents of Konoha even more. Baby fat also fades over time, and even now, one can notice how aristocratic facial features appear in Naruto's subconscious. Wow. I don't want to go to this brain poisoning. Rizik complained about the unfairness of life. These 5 years that he would spend in this useless, as he considered it, institution, he could have spent on training his body in order to quickly release his father to freedom. But no! His father said that he definitely had to go to this damn institution, and the boy could not go against his father's word. Father, are you sure that I should only get a passing score? Naruto asked, comfortably settling on one of his father's tails. He resentfully puffed out his cheeks with 3 stripes on each. I don't want to be considered an idiot because of a couple of old schizophrenics who decided to put bookmarks on me, said the young Uzumaki no Oko, with irritation in his voice. He didn't want to dance to the tune of the higher-ups, but he understood that if he didn't behave this way, his secret would be revealed, and his father would be resealed into another host, which the boy categorically did not want. Yes, my son. The bass voice of the elder Naoko cut through the silence. He sat quietly and stroked the top of his child's head with his hand, thereby cooling his ardor. This always helped when the boy was very unhappy about something. After all, they don't know that I am free and have removed the bookmarks from you. Let them continue to think that you are under their control. They need a blunt weapon that will be loyal to its owner, and when your body gets stronger and I can go out, I will give the Hokage weighty arguments against these old schizophrenics. The fox said with a sly grin. He personally wanted to tear to shreds those who were involved in the bookmarks installed on his son. This once again proves that the most terrible monsters in the whole world are people. Having said goodbye to his father, Naruto came out of his subconscious. He woke up just as the Hokage began to clear his brain. A crowd of onlookers blocked the entrance to the academy building, gaping and listening to the Hokage's intoxicating speech about the will of fire, about the brave shinobi who fought in battles, shouting pompous words and defending the honor of the village. They did not understand that most of these children would not rise above the rank of Chunin. They did not understand that they themselves had signed a death sentence for their children, because shinobi are just cannon fodder, expendable material that will go first during the war, covering with their backs the greedy monsters who are in power. Stupid people. The boy thought to himself, peering into the crowd of onlookers in search of someone interesting, but finding no one, he turned his gaze to the clear sky, in which there were no white spots of clouds floating, which the bearers of shadow techniques so ardently dream of becoming. They believe all this nonsense, which in this rotten world will not help their beloved children. They have forgotten the true essence of the will of fire. But soon they will understand what it is. The red-haired boy thought to himself, and the old man finished his speech. Naruto was assigned to a class where clan and clanless people study. Children, please come to class, said the dark-haired, tan man, inviting the children to auditorium number 45. Rizik jumped off the tree branch and followed his classmates, feeling the contemptuous glances of the crowd that had begun to disperse. Naruto was the last one to enter. The classroom was an unremarkable little room. 6 rows of 3-person desks, a teacher's desk by the wall with a blackboard hanging on it. He, ignoring all the whispers and sidelong glances of some of the children, walked to the last desk, which was located near a large window, and sat down at it. A guy in a gray fur sweatshirt, and with a little dog on his head approached him. Red marks in the form of fangs adorned his cheeks. His eyeball had completely merged with the white of his eye. They were separated only by a barely visible strip of an animal pupil. Hey, demon! What are you doing here? It was Kiba Inuzuka from the dog clan. The dog owner was addressing Rizik, which the latter was clearly not happy about. Purple Eyes looked at Inuzuka with a bored look. Naruto frowned. Are pets allowed to be brought to the academy? The boy asked in a bored tone. He laid his head on his hands, which were lying on the desk, and continued to examine the disturber of his peace. If so, then tomorrow I will bring my pet fox. I think he will not mind infecting your hamster with rabies," the boy said with a sly smile on his face. The girls, hearing the words about the rabbit fox, immediately hurried to retreat away from the two boys. The dog owner, baring his teeth angrily, was about to say something, but the class teacher entered the classroom, interrupting the fight that had not yet begun. "So kids, everyone to their seats. Let's get acquainted," said the guy with a horizontal scar on the bridge of his nose, waiting for everyone to sit down. Noticing Kiba and his dog, Yumino frowned. "Well, let's begin the introduction," the man loudly proclaimed, forcing a smile. "I am Yumino Irika, your homeroom teacher for the next 5 years. I like ramen. I don't like traitors and disobedient students. My dream is to become the director of this academy. The goal is to make first-class shinobi out of you. Now you." The young teacher's gaze fell on the dog owner, who had already stood up, about to introduce himself. "I am Inuzuka Kiba," the dog handler began, looking proudly at the entire class. "I love my Niken puppy. I don't like the demon," the representative of the Inuzuka clan said, looking at the red-haired boy with a furious gaze. "My dream is to become the head of my clan." The dog handler finished introducing himself, folding his arms across his chest. "About mutual hatred, but you are wrong about one thing." All eyes fell on Uzumaki no Oko, waiting for the local bully to do something. "I am the incarnation of Shinigami-sama himself," the red-haired boy said, emitting 5% of his Ki, which was weaker than Kushina's, but had an excellent effect on the dog owner. Kiba, who did not expect such pressure, shook with fear, because the Ki was pressing on him, not affecting any of the other guys. Everyone looked at each other from such a sight and again looked at Inuzuka, whose teeth were already dancing a tap dance. No one understood why Kiba was so scared. "Then stop this farce," Yumina shouted, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Kiba, sit down and know from now on that the academy is not a kennel, and you can't come here with pets," Yumino said, looking reproachfully at the dog owner. Everyone laughed, and Naruto sat with a satisfied grimace on his face. Kiba, blushing with shame, sat down in his place. And Naruto, pleased with his little prank, put his head on his hands and continued to lazily look out the window, catching only fragments of phrases with his hearing. "Next!" Yumino shouted, marking everyone who had introduced themselves in the journal. Next, they introduced themselves in the same way as Kiba, after which they suffered the same fate as the dog owner, namely Ki coming from Naruto. "Next!" The voice of the homeroom teacher sounded again, after which a blonde girl with turquoise eyes stood up from her seat. "I am Yamanako Ino," a perky girl's voice rang out. The girl was quite pretty. Her blonde hair was cut very short. She was dressed in a pink dress with a purple belt. Her eyes were shining with mischief, and on her face was a wide, but no less dazzling smile, revealing a row of even snow-white teeth. "I love," the girl thought for a moment, and cast a short glance at Sasuke Uchiha, after which she blushed a little and turned her shy gaze to the floor. "And flowers, especially forget-me-nots and lilacs." "I don't like," Yamanako thought again and turned her gaze to the ceiling, already examining it. What she found there, Rizk still didn't understand, but tearing herself away from contemplating the ceiling, white as the walls of a mental hospital, the girl blurted out in a slightly angry tone. "When they mock Sakura. A dream." Naruto expected that Ino would hesitate again and think for a long time about the answer, and this time she would direct her gaze to some wall, but contrary to the boy's expectations, Ino blurted out with pride and confidence. "To become a worthy heir to her clan. The goal is to become a great kunoichi like Tsunade Senju." "So she's from the Brain clan," Naruto mentally noted. He didn't like the fact that he would study with the offspring of the clan whose techniques forced Naruto to create false dreams and hopes in his head, and also made him stupid and underdeveloped in terms of chakra control. "It was with the help of their techniques that they put bookmarks on me, right, father?" Naruto asked his father a mental question. He was very irritated, guessing that this was the elder's tricks to keep Inoichi Yamanaka under control, because everyone in the village knew that after the death of his beloved wife, Inoichi protected his daughter like a precious diamond or some secret clan technique. And this gesture said something like, "Look, your daughter is in the same class with a monster. Just try to disobey us, we will unleash the beast, and she will suffer." "Yes." The fox growled sadly, because he felt the mood of his offspring and unintentionally heard all his thoughts. He was completely disappointed in humanity. "I'm Haruno Sakura." A squeaky girl's voice rang out. A girl with pink hair cut in a bob stood up from her seat. Her eyes darted around the entire classroom, not knowing what to latch onto. She was wearing a green dress, and on her head was a cheap-colored ribbon tied at the top of her head with a large bow. "I love," like Ino, who introduced herself a few minutes earlier. Sakura cast a shy glance at Sasuke, after which she blushed so much that Kushina's beautiful hair simply nervously smoked Sarutobi's pipe to the side. She turned her gaze to the P and continued in a barely audible whisper. "I don't like it when they think I'm weak." Dream, and again a glance at the Uchiha, who was just sitting and boringly staring at the blackboard, trying to find at least something interesting there. "The goal is to become the strongest Ryanin in the land of fire." After this phrase, the girl, burning with shame, sat down in her seat and with her right hand began to nervously sort through the strands of her long pink bangs, which were separated by a ribbon. "And they wanted to force love on me for this thick-headed one?" The younger Nooko was indignant. No, he did not argue. The girl was beautiful in her own way, but she was not his type. "No. Thank you?" Kurama, after such a loud mental protest of his son, covered his fox ears, because the thoughts were very loud, and the sensitive ears of the tailed one would not withstand such a loud load. "I'm Uchiha Sasuke." Finally, it was the turn of the bored brunette with the Donald Duck Alia ponytail hairdo. "I like tomatoes. I don't like it when Nissan doesn't train me. My dream is to become the head of the clan. My goal is to surpass my brother." After these words, the entire female half of the class screamed so loudly that the red-haired boy's ears almost started bleeding like a fountain. No, seriously, what did the girls see in this spoiled and arrogant child who can't see anything beyond his own desires? Red-eyed, the boy thought to himself. He didn't like this clan and didn't want to get involved with them. "Well, I don't really like this clan because of their past," Rizik continued to think. "According to my father, he attacked Konoha twice, and both times not of his own free will, but under the control of the Sharingan. Therefore, I will be wary of this clan," the boy thought, and the nine-tailed was proud of his child's prudence. Next, the teacher's loud voice once again cut through the silence of the classroom. This time, the boy who sat in front of him reluctantly stood up from his warm seat. The boy had black hair, his hair was braided into a tight high ponytail. "I am Shikamaru Nara." The boy's voice sounded lazy and hoarse after a long sleep. "I like laziness. I don't like work. I have no goal. My dream is to become a cloud," the boy quickly and briefly stated, raising his eyes to the white ceiling, hoping to see a blue sky and fluffy clouds floating on it, but was disappointed when he came across a snow-white barrier. With a deep sigh, the boy sat down in his place and again sprawled up behind the desk. "Lazy Nara," flashed through Rizik's head. A cheerful smile touched his lips. This boy definitely aroused more interest in him than that same Uchiha. "He may be lazy, but he's a good strategist." "Naruto Uzumaki no Oko," the teacher said with sadness and regret, looking at Rizik, who was slowly rising from his warm place. Boredom was reflected in his eyes. A slight grin disappeared from his childish face. The look was too conscious for a child of 7. This scared Irika a little. But he was afraid not that the demon could take over the boy's mind, but that this child had already lost his childhood. He had lost the naivety that he had 2 years ago. Before the teacher appeared a small adult who already knew more than he was supposed to at such a young age, but who still had a lot to learn. "I am Naruto Uzumaki no Oko," the boy said seriously, looking boredly through the sensei. "What I like, what I don't like, and my dreams and goals are of little concern to anyone," the boy said and sat back down. He was right about that. No one except his father cared about the younger Nooko. "You didn't say anything," the dog handler shouted, gritting his teeth in anger. All the guys began to watch the fight that hadn't even started yet, and were already making bets on who would win the upcoming fight. Most were for Kiba, but there were also those who, after Rizik's little prank, doubted the dog handler's strength. "Is there something that doesn't suit you?" the boy said in a bored voice. Naruto didn't want to get into a fight, because then he wouldn't be contained and send his secret, which would immediately reach the top and then his father would be resealed, and Uzumaki no Oko himself would most likely be killed as an unwanted witness. Maybe I should introduce you to Naiko? I think she'll be happy with the new prey, Naruto said, looking out the window and remembering the red-haired friend he saved 2 years ago from the clutches of Inuzuka and his clansmen. Are you trying to get a girl on me? The dog owner grinned. Who does this piece of trash think he is? Does he think he is weaker than some girl? Weakling! The brown-haired boy shouted, bursting into loud laughter, infecting the rest of the class with it. Iruka wanted to stop this farce, but he was interrupted by the voice of an irritated Naruto. First ask who Naiko is, and then throw words around, Naruto shouted. In his purple eyes, the devils were preparing their tridents. Even the pupil slightly narrowed, disregarding the cat's features, but the eyes did not turn red yet. So who is this weakling? The dog handler asked, laughing. Whoever this weakling was, he was still stronger than her. Naiko is my pet, a fox with rabies, the boy blurted out in the heat of the moment. In fact, Naiko was not sick with anything, he said this to scare the damn Kiba. I think I'll infect you, she'll only be happy, the redhead said with a grin. You're in trouble, damn Inuzuka. This is how the first day at the academy went for a red-haired guy named Naruto Uzumaki no Oko. Naruto, as agreed with his father, only scored passing grades on exams and tests, and because of this, the taunts from the dog owner and the rest of his classmates came much more often, because everyone thought that the boy was just showing off to show off in front of the girls and only in words he would wring the dog owner's neck. Naruto barely restrained himself from feeding Kiba and his bald mongrel Naiko, who only dreamed of this, dreamed of tasting the meat of the one who encroached on her own life and the life of her family. 5 long and necessary years of training passed at this pace, and finally the long-awaited final exams arrived. Everyone passed, even the big-headed one, but Naruto failed the exam on purpose. He failed at the request of his father, because Kurama had revealed the plan of the traitor Mizuki and Naruto had already warned the old Hokage about the traitor. Evening was falling on the land of Konoha, softly enveloping the walls of the village with a soft shadow. Soon it was time for the meeting. Naruto took the fake scroll he had prepared in advance and moved to the previously agreed meeting place. He couldn't wait to punch the vile traitor's smug face. Mizuki, meanwhile, knocked on Iruka-sensei's window. He looked out of breath, as if Guy had made him run 300 laps around the village. Iruka! A muffled scream of a colleague was heard. Sleepy Iruka rubbed his eyes and opened the window to better understand the words of his colleague. Wake up! Naruto stole the forbidden scroll, the traitor said with feigned concern. Iruka opened his black eyes in amazement. He could not believe that his student, even such a problematic one as Naruto, could commit such a vile act. What? The teacher asked, waking up in an instant. He simply couldn't believe it. This is not possible. Naruto would not do that, the man said in shock. He quickly got out of bed and, putting on his ninja uniform, ran to the Hokage's office to make sure the information was true. Mizuki went to the meeting place, impatient to take the scroll with the forbidden techniques and deprive Konoha of its most powerful weapon, the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Lord Hokage! Iruka burst into the residence with a breathless look, as if he had run 100 meters in a couple of minutes, although it was not far from the truth. Is it true? Naruto really stole the scroll with forbidden techniques? The young teacher asked, looking at old man Hiruzen with concern. Sarutobi sat in his chair as the head of the village and didn't even twitch his mustache. He continued to smoke his cigar as if nothing had happened and looked at the crystal ball with a melancholic look. An ANBU in a dog mask stood next to him, ready to go help little Uzumaki no Oko if he needed it. No. A hoarse old voice was heard. A cloud of tobacco smoke flew into the air, which the old man exhaled. The scroll is in place, and Mizuki turned out to be a traitor. Naruto exposed the deceiver and proposed a plan to expose the vile traitor, the old man said, turning his tortured gaze to the teacher. If Naruto was right and Mizuki really was a traitor, this would only add to his work. Although one could also profit from this. Having learned which country Mizuki came from, one could beg a couple of scrolls with techniques from that country as moral compensation. Chapter 5, Mizuki's truth and team assignment == Commentary on Chapter 5, Mizuki's truth and team assignment. I'm looking for a beta because I'm not very good with Russian. Gee, hi, I'm not a beta, but I still try to work for the author. Victory hand kissing face. The Hokage and the young sensei watched through the Hokage's all-seeing eye. The crystal ball clearly showed a clearing in the forest, bathed in moonlight. Under a lonely tree sat a boy with red hair braided in a low ponytail and tied with a thin black ribbon. He sat under the tree in the lotus position, and his eyes ran over the text of the fake scroll with a bored look, as if he was sitting and learning the seals for one of the forbidden techniques that he liked. Mizuki, meanwhile, had already approached the meeting place and looked at the bored student with a smug smile. "Hello, Naruto-kun." Mizuki's deceptively gentle voice was heard. "I hope the mission went well and you weren't spotted," Mizuki said, looking the academy student up and down. The boy looked casual, as if stealing the most guarded thing in Konoha was a piece of cake for him. "And Mizuki-sensei?" The boy stood up from his usual place. "Have you arrived yet?" "And I only managed to learn one technique," Rizik said with feigned pity, folding the huge scroll and attaching it to his back. The boy crossed his arms in annoyance and bowed his head like a bird in a questioning gesture, waiting for further instructions from the examiner. "Naruto-kun, give me the scroll and you will receive your protector," said the former sensei, holding out his hand to receive the long-awaited reward. He thought that finally he would receive this unfortunate scroll and destroy the most dangerous weapon of the village. "Mizuki-sensei, can I ask you a question?" Naruto said with feigned interest. The boy blinked his large violet eyes innocently, as if he hadn't committed the most heinous crime. Mizuki glared at the boy with disgust, as if he were looking at mold on a crust of bread, but he pushed his disgust away and put on the most benevolent smile he could muster. "Yes, Naruto-kun, ask?" Mizuki said with obvious irritation, which he tried to hide behind a smile. He was burning with impatience to get the treasured scroll, destroy the Jinchuriki, and get the hell out of here. He was sick of hanging around in this hole for many years and wanted to return to his native village as soon as possible. "Why does everyone hate me?" the Jinchuriki asked, the answer to which he had long known. Hiruzen became wary, and Irika panicked, which the dog restrained. Now the boy would learn the bitter truth that had been hidden from him for 12 long years. "That's quite an interesting question," the trader said with obvious enthusiasm. He even put the index finger of his right hand to his lower lip, as if he was thinking how to tell the boy the bitter truth so that there would be no strong tears and hysteria. However, he was thinking the opposite, how to press harder on the sore spots so that the boy would be morally destroyed and would not put up much resistance when he was killed. "Have you noticed how the villagers treat you?" the former teacher asked rhetorically, to which he immediately gave an answer. "Like dirt," the fake sensei said, his eyes narrowed in anticipation of the little Jinchuriki's hysteria. After all, the child would not be able to bear such a terrible and bitter truth. "Do you know that 12 years ago the village was attacked by the nine-tailed demon fox?" The white-haired criminal asked the Jinchuriki of this very tailed beast and, having received a positive nod in response, continued. "He took many lives with him," the sensei said with feigned sorrow, making a sad face, so sad that Naruto and Kurama rolled on the floor laughing inside the boy's subconscious. "All these long 12 years they tried to hide the bitter truth from you. The monster that killed Irika's parents is sealed in you," Mizuki said, pointing his index finger at the boy and grinning unkindly. "You are that very monster. You are the nine-tailed demon fox." At these words, the pupils of Mizuki's eyes narrowed to small dots, like a madman waiting for his victim's reaction. Hiruzen and Irika watched the boy's reaction closely. They expected screams and hysteria, because the boy had just found out who he had been his entire short life. The redhead stood motionless, not a single muscle on his face twitching, as if he had heard this 200 times, although inside he was rolling on the floor laughing, just like his father. In the real world he again bowed his head like a bird, as if he did not understand the accusations against him. "I know what happened 12 years ago." A quiet voice of a boy was heard, whose eyes slightly darkened so that the darkness absorbed the glare reflecting the moonlight in violet eyes. Instead, in the depths of the boy's eyes, Mizuki saw a pack of devils dancing a violet waltz. "But you are wrong about one thing, Mizuki," Mizuki was puzzled by such a reaction from Rizik, as were the third and Irika. They all expected screams, hysteria and indignation. They expected the child to deny the merciless truth that the false sensei told him, but not an even, but quiet voice saying that the traitor was wrong. "And where did I go wrong?" Mizuki asked, indignant at the boy's reaction. Mizuki stood there with a confused expression. He was brought out of some kind of trance that Mizuki had driven himself into by the even voice of the young Uzumaki no Oko. Yes, confirmation was heard from Rizik's lips. The Nine Tails really did attack Konoha 12 years ago, but there is one. But, the boy said, reaching out for the pouches with kunai. His eyes were still absorbing the moonlight, and his voice was quiet and even. "I am not the Nine Tails. After all, I am Naruto Uzumaki no Oko, the son of Kushina Uzumaki and Kurama no Oko." Having said this, the boy threw several kunai at the sensei. Hiruzen was stunned and confused at the same time. He was surprised that Naruto could find out his mother's name. But he was confused about his father's name, because in theory, his father was considered to be Minato Namikaze, and he did not know who Kurama no Oko was. This man had never been listed as a resident, or a shinobi in their village, and the bloody beast was closely monitored and no one reported that she was dating a strange man. Mizuki used a substitution to dodge the throwing iron that was flying at him, which flew into a wooden stump that appeared where the traitor had been. Moving with a shunshin behind Naruto, Mizuki quickly took the scroll that was hanging behind the boy and disappeared into the branches and foliage of the trees. "Well, I'm surprised you didn't fall from my provocations. Then prepare to die," Mizuki shouted as he threw a large shuriken. Naruto only yawned in the Nara clan style, showing that he was bored. He dodged the shuriken by sliding under it and made a concentration seal. Shadow clone technique. Rizik whispered the name of the technique with his lips only. The clearing was covered with a haze, from which soon appeared 5 dozen shadow clones of the boy. The face of the Hokage and Irika must be seen with their own eyes to see how amazed they were. Their jaw almost met the floor, painted green. The Hokage was stunned by the volume of the boy's chakra and the fact that he was able to learn a forbidden technique in such a short time, and the sensei by the fact that this is the worst graduate of this year, who could not really create a normal illusory clone, and here are shadow clones and not 5 pieces like for the exam at the academy, but 50 clones. Meanwhile, Naruto folded seals known only to him, and all of his clones took the forms of foxes with 3 tails. "Mizuki, what kind of technique is this?" Mizuki asked, giving away his location. Naruto smirked, knowing that a ninja always had to keep his emotions in check. "Naruto, this is the technique of the once great Naoko clan. Werewolf transformation." Having said this, Naruto gave the order to his clones to find and bring the traitor of Konoha. They immediately found him by smell and brought the former sensei, bitten half to death. Soon the Hokage Nbu appeared and thanked Naruto for his help, and carried him to a Biki for further interrogation. A fox with purple eyes like Naruto runs out of the forest and jumps on him. "Naruto, hello Naiko. I missed you too," said the red-haired boy, laughing at the same time, because he was tickled by the fox's tongue. "Naruto, okay Naiko, let's go home, I caught you some mice," said the red-haired boy, getting up from the ground and placing the fox on the top of his head, where it disappeared, merging with Rizik's hair. The next morning, the Hokage told Naruto to go to the academy. The boy trudged to the academy in confusion, mentally discussing this situation with his father. Naruto thought balloon, "I wonder why I need to go to the academy? I failed my exams. Even though it was for the sake of the cause." The redhead thought, approaching the academy building. The bell had already rung and the children had taken their seats. Irika entered the classroom. Naruto was standing outside the classroom door at that moment. "Irika, so, children, before the distribution, I want to say that I made a mistake in the calculations," said the teacher, adjusting the protector on his head. "I underestimated one student of the academy, and now I will hand him the protector of the village hidden in the leaf. Kanahagakuri no Sato. Naruto Uzumaki no Oko, please enter the classroom," said the teacher, smiling radiantly. All the kids looked at each other. How could Irika-sensei give this loser a forehead protector? They thought. Naruto walked into the classroom. He was dressed like this, A black sweatshirt with a whirlpool sign and foxes forming a yin-yang on the back, black shorts, shinobi boots of the same color. A fox cub was sleeping peacefully on his head. His waist-length hair was braided into a ponytail. "Iruka, here's your forehead protector, Naruto," the young teacher said, smiling as he handed the headband to Rizik. The boy took the headband with apprehension, as if afraid that it would be a sham. Looking at the blue headband with an iron plate with disbelief. "Kiba, how did this loser get this headband if he can't even make an illusion clone?" The dog handler yelled at the whole class. Everyone looked at him. Naiko woke up from the scream and saw the same Inuzuka who almost killed her 7 years ago. Naiko growled and was about to rush at the dog handler, but Naruto picked her up and started to pet and scratch her behind the ear, thereby calming her down. "Naruto, quiet girl, quiet. Everything is fine, calm down," the boy said, under the frightened looks of the girls and the mocking looks of some boys, calming the evil fox. "Kiba, what kind of ferret is this?" the dog owner asked mockingly. Naruto glared his violet eyes at Inuzuka with displeasure. "Naruto, you should be thanking me. I saved your life, after all," said the redhead, turning his head towards Kiba and continuing to calm the fox. "Kiba, why is this all of a sudden?" the dog breeder asked, looking at the red-haired boy with arrogance. "Naruto, remember when I told you I have a pet fox that has rabies?" Naruto asked, holding the fox in his hands. Kiba, "Well, I remember, but I don't believe it," Inuzuka said. "Naruto, do you remember me telling you that this fox wants you and your hamster dead?" Naruto asked with a look that said, "You're going to pay for everything now, you damn dog person." "Kiba, I remember," Inuzuka said. "Naruto, so I just saved you from that very fox, or rather fox," said the redhead, looking reproachfully at the dog breeder. "Kiba, yeah, what's that coat collar going to do to me?" Inuzuka asked mockingly. "Naruto, the thing is, this is not an ordinary fox, but a fox from the 44th Polygon, or known as the Forest of Death. It was created by the first Hokage himself, and therefore animals and plants acquired the ability to change their sizes by collecting natural chakra and becoming real monsters. Since Naiko is from this forest, they at least once moved their fish brains. What would happen if she collected enough chakra?" the Jinchuriki explained. Iruka was surprised by the guy's full answer, and Kiba thought about it. "Kiba, anyway, I could have beaten her. She's a brainless, stupid animal, and I'm Kiba Inuzuka myself, the coolest in this class. And your mink coat is no match for me," said the representative of the dog lover clan, to which Iruka and the red-haired boy only slapped him in the face. "Iruka, Kiba, you have the brain and truth of a fish, if not less. Naruto just told us that this creature can change size by collecting natural chakra. Therefore, it could collect such an amount of chakra with which it could increase to the size of a bear and bite you to death. Naruto, I don't think Naiko is stupid and brainless as you put it. She remembers everything, even events from 7 years ago. She can also analyze the situation and can tell me about it. She is also a bloodhound of the highest order. Even your hamster can't compare to her, and let me remind you that your clan breeds bloodhounds. So, in essence, my Naiko is not inferior to your Akamaru in all respects, and in some respects she even surpasses him. Iruka, okay, Naruto, take your seat, I'm going to announce your commands now," the guy said, rubbing the bridge of his nose. The teams were as per canon. Only the reaction of the 7th team was different. Iruka, Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki no Oko, Sakura Haruno, and Sasuke Uchiha. Mentor, Kakashi Hatake. Naruto shuddered after his command was announced. Naruto thought balloon, I see. The old schizos set this up. They put Sakura because these idiots think that the love bookmark on this board works, and they slipped Uchiha to me because of the possibility of Kyuubi's release. Ugh. These idiots are annoying. Sakura was sad at first, because she was put with the worst student of this year, and then she squealed with joy, looking proudly at her blonde friend, whose name is Ino Yamanaka. Sasuke just chuckled in Uchiha style, showing that he didn't care. Chapter 6 Meeting Sensei All the teams had already left with their sensei, only the well-known trio, namely Team Number 7, remained in the auditorium. Naruto sat and spoiled his faithful friend, feeding her mice. Sakura clung to her object of adoration and did not want to let him out of her embrace. She had already tried to pet Naiko, but the fox only hissed and ran off to the red-haired boy. Sasuke just sat and stared into space. Naruto, Naiko, are you bored? The redhead asked his pet. She just came closer to his ear and started yapping something. Sakura, hey, schizo. Haruno, the red-haired girl, caught her attention. Are you schizophrenic? Are you talking to a mink coat? Before the one branded as a log could say this, a kunai flew past her cheek, scratching her delicate skin. Naruto did this, because if it concerns those dear to him, he will smash the whole of Konoha to pieces, but he will get to the offender. Naruto, now listen here log, said the red-haired boy releasing some of his ki. If I hear anything about Naiko one more time, this kunai will split your brain into 2 equal parts, said the red-haired boy with such coldness in his voice that even Uchiha shuddered. Naiko finally finished yapping. Naruto, okay Naiko, I understand you, Naruto said more calmly and softly. The boy made a concentration seal and an exact copy of himself appeared from a cloud of smoke next to him. Sasuke and Sakura's eyes widened at this. During the exam, he created some kind of puddle that was incapable of normal actions, and here an exact copy and clone is clearly not ordinary. Naruto, hey, can you play with Naiko while sensei is away? The fox cub asked his copy. The clone just nodded, making a smile like, 32 is not the limit. The clone folded the seal of a dog and a dragon, and became a small fox cub with 6 tails. The 2 foxes began to caress each other. Sakura, what kind of technique is this? Haruno asked. It doesn't look like a henge. Naruto, secret. That's all Naruto said, and 2 foxes with violet eyes lay down on his head and fell asleep. Haruno was so mad that Sasuke's favorite vegetable was standing somewhere to the side and nervously reading one of Jiraiya's books. Naruto simply sat down at one of the desks and went down into the subconscious. In the subconscious. Naruto, hey dad. Do you think Nissan will come soon? Naruto asked his father. Kurama, hello son, no, not soon. There are still 2 hours to spare, said the fox, opening his sleepy eyes. Naruto, okay, thanks dad, I'll go read about Raioninjutsu. My fox nature feels like I'll need it soon, said the redhead as they walked towards one of the doors of the subconscious. Who is his Nissan? You ask, and I will answer with confidence. He was talking about Kakashi. When did they manage to become so close? You ask, and I will answer. When Kakashi left the post of ANBU captain and began to closely watch Naruto. And one of the fine days when Naruto was training, he felt surveillance. So after half a year, Naruto and Kakashi became close and became like brothers. Kakashi learned the truth about the redhead's parents and met the fox. Kurama accepted him as a son, because he felt that he and Naruto were very similar. Kakashi himself began to treat the fox not as a monster, because he got to know him much better and realized that the fox was not as evil as the elders and Danzo said. Naruto spent these 2 hours reading books on Raioninjutsu and mastered a couple of techniques quite well. 2 long hours flew by. Sasuke and Sakura didn't know what to do. Sakura, for no reason at all, set a trap on the door to the classroom to teach her sensei a lesson. Sasuke sat and thought, how did Naruto get so smart in one night and learn such a strange technique? And Naruto, in Sakura's opinion, was just sleeping. She wanted to hit him a couple of times so that he would learn how to sleep in class. But Naiko and Naruto's clone in the form of a fox woke up with a snap, growling and not letting her near the redhead. When Sakura went back to her rooster, Naiko and the clone calmed down and lay back down. Kakashi was about to enter the classroom when he realized that a rag for wiping the board was about to fall on him. He managed to take a step back when the piece of cloth almost fell on his silver hair. Sensei picked up the rag and put it back. Sakura, you're late. Sakura squealed almost in Kakashi's ear. The mask wearer didn't pay attention to this and approached the sleeping redhead. Kakashi, Otuto, wake up! Kakashi said in a gentle tone, tugging the guy by the shoulder. Naruto's clone dissipated, and Naiko continued to snore on top of the redhead's head. Sakura's eye began to twitch. Not only was she ignored, but this fox, who according to her calculations should have woken up and at least bitten Kakashi half to death, simply continued to lie on its sides. Sasuke lost his mask of composure from hearing the words that flew out of the mouth of the sensei, because this is what Itachi called him when Sasuke asked to train him and was refused. Naruto opened his eyes, the color of which resembled violets. Naruto, Nii-san, it's you. Let me guess, helping old ladies cross the road? The Kyuubi cub asked, rubbing his eyes. Kakashi, that's right. Today I translated 4 grannies and helped them carry heavy bags home, said the ash-haired man, smiling with one eye. Let's go to the roof and meet each other there, it's kind of stuffy here, said the man whose hair forgot about gravity and disappeared into the shunshin. Team 7 simply went up the stairs. Naiko was still sleeping on Naruto's head, and he didn't bother her because he knew that the sleep-deprived fox would tear everyone to shreds. The team arrived at their destination and they sat down on the steps. Kakashi, well, let's get acquainted. Tell us about yourself, name, surname, hobbies, dream and goal, said the guy whose hair shone silver in the sun. Sakura, set an example. The girl gave Ryo her high five. Kakashi, okay. I'm Hatake Kakashi, I have no goals, no dreams, and I'll keep my hobbies to myself, said the mask wearer. Now you? Pointing at Harino, Kakashi said with a look of complete indifference. Sakura, he didn't say anything. Harino whispered. I'm Sakura Harino, I love, looking at Sasuke and squealing from which the eardrums of the son of the bloody habanera almost burst, but I don't love this loser, Harino said, pointing at the red-haired boy. A dream, again looking at Sasuke, and the goal is to become the strongest Rainin. Sakura's squeal woke up Naiko, and when she saw Kakashi she ran to him, hid under his arm, shaking from intense fear and pain in her ears. Kakashi, Naiko, what happened? Kakashi asked, worried about the animal's behavior. Naruto, that log screamed so loudly that my eardrums almost burst, and Naiko's ears probably hurt, said the redhead tapping his right ear, which was ringing unpleasantly. Kakashi looked at Sakura as if she were an enemy of humanity, and she, in turn, pressed herself tightly against the Uchiha from such a look, to which he rolled his eyes. Kakashi, Naruto, can you heal her? Hatake asked, stroking the twitching fox. Naruto, of course, Kakashi-sensei, it's not that hard, said the guy, finally getting rid of that annoying ringing. Kakashi, okay, and while Ototo is healing Naiko, you tell us about yourself, Kakashi said, pointing at the brunette. Sasuke, I am Sasuke Uchiha, I love few things, I don't like many things, I have no dreams, the goal is to kill one person, said the Sharingan, which made Harino squeal even more than before. This time, the redhead managed to block the fox's ears. When the squealing stopped, blood was already flowing from the redhead's ears in 2 copious streams, and his head was hurting badly. Hatake rushed to his adopted brother, and caught him at the moment when the fox lost consciousness from a severe headache. Kakashi, damn it! Kakashi cursed. Why the hell did you have to scream like that? Sensei asked, throwing an angry look at Sakura. Sakura, I just admire my idol, and if he fainted just from my voice, then he's a weakling, the girl declared, pouting her lips and making a face like, I'm offended! Sasuke, Sakura, you really screamed so loudly that my ears got blocked, said the brunette, clapping his ears to get rid of the ringing in his ears. Sakura didn't say anything to this, but simply made a guilty face. Kakashi, Naruto has sensitive ears, so don't squeal like that anymore, said the guy, taking the red-haired boy in his arms. Tomorrow, at Paleontology number 13, at 6 in the morning, don't be late. Chapter 7. The bell test The next day, Sakura and Sasuke came to the Paleontology Center at 6 a.m. as ordered. Naruto arrived 2 hours later. Sakura, Naruto, you're late! The pink-haired girl screamed, showing her displeasure. She forgot about yesterday's situation, which clearly enraged Naruto. Life doesn't teach her anything, Naruto thought, and simply jumped onto a tree branch and fell asleep. Sakura got mad and started screaming at the top of her lungs. Fortunately, Naruto grabbed a couple of earplugs so that yesterday's situation wouldn't happen again. Naruto was in his subconscious and was studying books on Rainenjutsu, as he felt that it would definitely come in handy soon, because his fox nature had never let him down. Another hour passed in this situation. When Kakashi came, he saw this picture. Sasuke was sitting under the shade of a tree and thinking about something of his own. Sakura was trying to climb the tree and shouting something. And Naruto was sitting on one of the branches of the very tree that wouldn't leave Haruno alone, sitting and seemed to be in the subconscious. Kakashi, hey guys, said the silver-haired one, smiling with one eye. Sorry for being late. A black cat crossed my path, I had to go around it, said the sensei, scratching the back of his head guiltily. Haruno was distracted from Naruto and went to pick on the unpunctual sensei. Naruto woke up, thereby saving his Nissan. Kakashi, now that everyone is here, let's move on to the exam, Kakashi said, confusing Haruno and Uchiha. Sakura, for what exam? We passed the exam, for Genin. Here's the headband, said the log, clearly not understanding the whole situation. Kakashi, yes, on paper you are Genin, but this exam will show whether you are worthy of being my students, said the guy, clearly pleased with the reaction of his charges. Haruno and Uchiha looked at the sensei with distrust. And he in turn took out 2 bells from his pouch. Kakashi, you must take these bells from me, the jounin said, attaching the bells to his belt. Sakura, but there are only 2 bells, the girl said with a puzzled expression. Kakashi, one of you will return to the academy, Kakashi said, watching the reactions of his students. Sakura was scared at first, but then she made a sly face, which Kakashi clearly did not like. Sakura thought, balloon, if I get these bells, then Sasuke-kun will understand how cool I am. I'll give the bell to Sasuke-kun and send this idiot back to the academy. I still don't understand how he got this headband, Haruno thought with hatred, looking at the red-haired boy. Kakashi, 3, 2, 1. Let's go, Sensei shouted, after which the 2 genin rushed into the bushes. Naruto stood as if nothing had happened. Kakashi, Oturo, why didn't you hide? Kakashi asked, not understanding why his adopted brother was acting like this. Naruto, Nissan, you know how my teammates feel about me. I'd rather read a book on Rainenjutsu. My fox nature feels that it will come in handy soon, and you know that it has never let me down, the boy said, showing the world his seal on his hand, from which a scroll soon appeared. Kakashi just looked at his Otu and nodded. Naruto, I can explain what brought about such a decision, said the violet-eyed man, unrolling the scroll. Kakashi, explain, said the jounin, guessing what the answer would be. Naruto, the thing is that Sasuke is an Uchiha, and this clan was famous for its pride and self-esteem, therefore his pride will not allow him to agree to teamwork. And I don't really like him either, the boy told the pure truth. Sakura won't agree because of Sasuke, she's head over heels in love with him, and she also doesn't like me. And she drives me crazy, and Naiko makes me nervous. Kakashi just nodded at this statement. Kakashi, then okay. Sit and read. It's even useful. Every genius, regardless of the type of chakra, should know how to provide first aid to a teammate, said the ash-haired one, taking a book out of his pouch. Naruto went under the shade of a tree and began to study and memorize the scroll. Half an hour later, Naruto was sitting and meditating, and Kakashi was finishing his book. Suddenly, the name of a technique was heard from the leaves. Sasuke, fire release, big fireball, Uchiha shouted, and a fireball flew from Naruto's right. Rizik barely managed to dodge. Naruto, watch where you're aiming, Uchiha, the red-haired boy shouted, clearly not happy that his chakra control training was interrupted. Kakashi, Sasuke, if you want to take the bells, then you need to sue me, said the copy ninja, putting down the book he had read. If you continue to attack Naruto, then you have failed the exam, said the man, crossing his arms over his chest. Sasuke ignored the sensei's words, and the next second a fireball, twice as big, flies into the redhead. The fox cub only opened the scroll with the sealing jutsu, and the technique was sealed. Kakashi, that's enough. The exam is over, Sensei said, angry and irritated. Sakura came out of the bushes, and Sasuke jumped from a tree branch. The team approached Sensei. Kakashi, so? The guy looked at his charges reproachfully. I congratulate you. You failed this exam, the guy said, burning a hole in the Uchiha. Sakura just looked at Naruto as if he were an enemy of the people, and Sasuke chuckled in the Uchiha way. But you have a chance to pass, to answer my question correctly, the sensei said, drawing attention to himself. Sakura, what question? The pink-haired girl asked, hoping that it would be about theory. Kakashi, the Hokage gave you an important mission, but on the way you were attacked by SSS Plus class missing Nin. Your teammates were trapped, and the mission must be completed on time. What will you choose? The team or the mission? The guy asked. The team thought about it. Naruto, team, said the redhead. Sakura, you idiot. We were taught at the academy that the task is above all else. The log yelled. Kakashi, Sakura, that's not the right answer, Kakashi said, turning to himself with two surprised looks. Ototo is right, one great man once told me. In the shinobi world, those who don't complete the task are scum, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. That's why thanks to Naruto you passed, but Sasuke upset me. The guy looked at the brunette with a disappointed look. Sakura, why did Sasuke-kun disappoint you? He's the best. And Naruto, the pink-haired girl said, looking angrily at Naruto. Kakashi, Sasuke attacked Naruto when he wasn't ready. Or to put it another way, attacked from behind? That's very low of him. I'm not even mentioning that he's your teammate, said the copyist. I'll lose the bridge of my nose. Tomorrow at the Hokage residence at 8. Where is Naruto going today? The Jounin asked, turning to his sworn brother. Naruto, home. Soiva and Iva are probably waiting for you, said the guy leaving the polygon. Chapter 8. The first serious task In the morning, 3 children and a little fox stood at the Hokage residence. They were waiting for their sensei to arrive. Sakura, a girl with pink hair, had already managed to get on the nerves of her teammates, whose eyes had already started twitching from her squeaky voice. Now Naruto, a boy with hair the color of the sunset, was sure that another prey had been added to his favorites list of prey, namely the pink-haired beast, who was haunting her as well. Sasuke, a brunette with eyes the color of a moonless night and hair the color of a raven's wing, did not know where to hide from his ardent admirer. After about 15 to 20 minutes, Sensei arrived. The team headed to the Hokage's office to receive their first mission. They were given a D-rank mission to weed the garden. Kakashi went with them to keep an eye on them and check their teamwork. Already there. To make the work go faster, the redhead created 5 shadow clones and they got to work. After Naruto created another 50 shadow clones. Sakura, why else would you need clones? The log asked, looking at her with an uncomprehending look. Naruto, the less you know, the better you sleep. Do you know that saying? The redhead asked with a look that said, it's none of your business, thick-headed one. Having discussed something with his copies, the original joined in weeding the garden, and the clones sat down in the shade of a tree that grew not far away and began to meditate. As it might seem at first glance, but in fact they were dispersing their chakra and scouring the internal library looking for more information and techniques on Ryoninjutsu. This did not escape the keen eye of the copying one, and he began to think that something bad would happen since his Ototo took the study of this jutsu so seriously. 2 months passed. All this time the team carried out tasks to catch cats and dogs, weed gardens, etc. The team completed the tasks quickly thanks to Naruto and his clones. At the Hokage residence. Sakura, Hokage-sama, give us a more serious mission. Sasuke-kun deserves a more serious mission. The girl made a scene. Hiruzen, Kakashi, do you think they're ready? The Monkey King asked, rubbing his temples. Kakashi, I think so, the copyist said, rubbing the bridge of his nose. He was as tired as the Hokage, because he listened to such scandals every single day. Naruto was wearing earplugs and simply covered his favorite's ears. Naiko was lying on the redhead's head and growling. Not only was she screaming like crazy, but she was also trying to squeeze her. Sasuke was covering his own ears. She was getting on his nerves. Hiruzen, alright, I'll give you a C-rank mission. It's to escort a bridge builder. Tazuna-san, come in, the Hokage said with a resigned sigh. A gray-haired man with a pointed hat and a towel wrapped around his neck entered the room. He was holding a half-empty bottle of sake in his hands. He was drunk. Tazuna, and this little thing will protect me? The carpenter asked, looking at the genin with an appraising glance. His gaze stopped on the boy with hair the color of red flame and a fox on his head. He immediately sobered up. It was him. Tazuna, well, at least that redhead doesn't look weak like that girl, the carpenter said, realizing who he was standing in front of. Sakura was indignant and wanted to object, but she felt a slight killing intent. It came from Naruto. The ki wasn't strong, but it was terrifying. Sakura chose to remain silent. Kakashi, good. In half an hour at the main gates of Konoha, Kakashi said and looked at the red-haired boy. Ototo, take everything you need. I feel like the journey will be long, the copy boy said and disappeared into the shunshin. Naruto wanted to leave, but Tazuna called him to him. The carpenter and the red-haired boy disappeared behind the door. And Sakura and Sasuke just looked at the closed door and went to pack their things. Half an hour later, Sakura, Sasuke and the customer were waiting only for the eternally late Kakashi and his, no good, in Sakura's opinion, brother. And then they appeared from the alley. Sakura, you're late, the girl screamed. Naruto didn't have time to put on his earplugs and so he winced from the pain in his ears. Kakashi looked at the girl with displeasure and picked up his adopted brother, who squatted down, squeezing his ears. 5 minutes later, his ears stopped hurting. Sasuke, Naruto, Kakashi-sensei, where are your things? Sasuke asked, looking at his sensei and teammate for backpacks. Naruto, I have them, we can move out, said the red-haired boy, stroking Naiko's red back. Sasuke only tilted his head questioningly, but didn't say anything. They set off. Chapter 9 Demon Brothers or One of the Secrets Revealed. The team and the customer had been walking for 3 hours. Sakura pestered the sensei with questions, to which Kakashi sighed resignedly. Naruto was on guard, and Sasuke walked lost in his thoughts. The weather was sunny, but not hot, and a cool breeze blew. Suddenly, Naruto noticed a puddle that was emitting chakra. He looked at Kakashi, and the copyist looked at him. They understood each other, and became wary. The others did not pay attention to the puddle and simply passed by. As soon as they walked 10 meters away, the puddle disappeared, and 2 new Nin appeared in its place. They wanted to separate Kakashi in a chain, but did not have time. A large elk runs out of the forest, and knocks them down. Naruto, Soiwa. Did something happen? The redhead asked, running up to the majestic beast. The moose began to snort something. Sakura, did he hit his head? He's talking to a dumb animal, said Sakura, whose eyes were like saucers. Kakashi, no! This is one of the Nooko clan's abilities, understanding the language of animals. And since Naruto shared his chakra with me, I can also understand animals. The copyist explained and, observing the students' reactions, continued. This is Soiwa. He is the commander-in-chief of the army of the Death Forest, as well as the bodyguard of the young prince, who in about 3 years should ascend to the throne. You don't know where Naruto lives, do you? Kakashi asked and, having received negative nods, said. He lives on one of the polygons, namely the famous Polygon 44 or in the Death Forest. For animals, Naruto is something like a healer there and just a friend and protector. Soiwa says that he and the prince were on a walk, but they were attacked by poachers who were hunting the prince. Soiwa tried to divert attention from the prince, but the prince was still wounded. Soiwa sensed his friend's chakra and rushed as fast as he could, having hidden the prince in a cave under the tree roots beforehand. Sensei explained, tying the demon brothers with a chakra-absorbing fishing line. Sakura looked at Naika, who was standing on her paws, bending one paw under herself and lowering her muzzle, almost touching the ground with her nose, making a kind of fan. Kakashi bowed when he had dealt with the twins. Tazuna bowed his head in respect. Naruto, how dare they touch Aiwa? The young doctor shouted when Soiwa stopped snorting. Okay. Bring him here, Seiwa, now. Naruto said, taking out the scrolls from the seal on his body. Soiwa rushed in the direction he came from, and 10 minutes later he brought a young moose on his back and bent down, letting Kakashi take the baby and put it on the cloth Naruto had prepared in advance. The boy looked at the patient, and it turned out that a kunai had flown past his hoof, which was poisoned. Naruto, holy shit! Naiko, print the antidote from the scroll. S3S jar, said the redhead, addressing his pet. The fox obeyed. She rushed to the scroll with the antidote. Having unrolled one of the scrolls, she put her paw in the center of the drawn seal. The seal lit up and a bottle with a light green liquid flew out of its center. Taking the vessel in her teeth, she rushed to her owner. The boy took the bottle brought by his pet in his hands. Naruto directed chakra there, thereby making the taste of the liquid a little sweeter. He poured the liquid into the mouth of the little moose calf, put his hand to the place of the wound. Naruto, Iva, be patient for a little while. It's going to hurt a little now, Naruto said, and his hand began to glow with a greenish light. The young moose began to tremble and snort in pain, but he endured. And soon the boy put an empty jar to the wound, and a dark purple liquid poured into it. Naruto, here's the poison. I'll take it for research. Soiva, take Iva home. Let him sleep for a couple of days. And increase security, the poachers won't wait long, said the redhead, sealing the jar of poison in a scroll, and the scroll in a seal on his hand. Naruto, and yet my fox nature did not fail me. Iria ninjutsu came in handy. So, and now you, said the redhead, wiping beads of sweat from his forehead, and turning to the twins who had woken up. Chapter 10 Torture Naruto, Kakashi-sensei, can I interrogate them? Naruto asked with a smile. Allah. 32 is not the limit. Kakashi knew that if the red-haired guy said it with such a smile, it meant that he was angry, and he needed to let off steam. Kakashi, of course, Otsuto. We won't bother you, the sensei said, swallowing a small lump. He took Naruto with him on one of the missions to conclude a peace treaty with the village hidden in stone. And the further development of events scared him very much. Naruto, thank you, Nii-san, said the boy and galloped towards his brothers. Sakura looked at the sensei with a very distrustful look. Sakura, Kakashi-sensei, why did you trust this lazy guy with the interrogation? The log asked. Sasuke-kun would have done a better job. Tazuna, shut up. Do you even know who you're talking about? The carpenter asked, displeased with the way the legend was being treated. As soon as he said this, cries of pain were heard. Everyone turned their attention to where the tied-up Nukenin were sitting. They saw a terrifying picture. Naiko had bitten off Gozu's finger, and Naruto was only smiling and healing his wound. Naruto's POV. When I received permission to interrogate, I galloped towards the Nukenins with a fox-like grin. I was very angry and I needed to let off steam. Naruto, hello? I said as soon as I approached the brothers. They looked at me, a mocking look in their eyes. Gozu, little one, what are you doing here? Go play in the sandbox, said one of them. According to the description, if I'm not mistaken, it was Gozu. Naruto, no. What are you talking about, uncle? I just wanted to question you. Nothing special, I said with a little irritation. A sadistic, caustic laugh was heard. I began to get even more irritated. Mizu, you and interrogate us. Ha ha ha. You made me laugh. Better go to your daddy and eat porridge. These words made me furious. No one dares to even say a word about my father. In addition, I heard this annoying squeaky voice. How she pisses me off. There is no peace from her anywhere. Glory to Shinigami. Father, remove the bookmarks for falling in love from me. Naruto, Naiko, it's time to eat, I said with a sadistic smile. Naiko pounced on Gozu and bit off his finger. A scream of pain was heard, which was music to my ears. Mizu immediately realized who he was sitting in front of. Chapter 11 The Nine-Tailed Fox's Tale Naruto's POV. Mizu looked at me with eyes full of fear. This picture pleased my eyes. Mizu, Please forgive us, we didn't recognize you right away, he said as soon as he looked at my grin. Don't kill us and heal my brother. I beg you. I will tell you everything I know, he said. Tears began to roll down his eyes. Naruto thought balloon, he broke down so quickly. I thought. Maybe he values his brother too much? Okay. He agreed to be interrogated. And it's pointless for me to torture him and his brother. I let off some steam, and I felt better. So that's enough, I thought, and my fox-like grin turned into a smile of approval. Mizu exhaled with relief. I squatted down and began to heal Gozu. It took me about 3 or 4 minutes. I couldn't grow the finger back, but it wasn't hard to grow it. When I finished, I went to Nisan with a report that the interrogation could begin. Naruto, Kakashi-sensei, everything is ready, you can go interrogate, but don't kill them, I said and looked sadly towards the brothers. Nisan looked at me with bewilderment. And I began to explain. It's just that they care and value each other so much that they can rightfully be considered good people. After all, there are no bad people, there are those who have strayed from the true path or something made them go down the dark path. Such people need help, and I think that we should take the first step, I said, and Kakashi looked at me with pride. I smiled at him, and he smiled with his eyes. My teammates looked at me with an angry look. Sakura, you idiot! What are you doing? You want to help the villains? Sakura screamed at the top of her lungs. I even cringed from the loud sound. Naruto thought balloon, can she really scream so loudly that you can hear her even through earplugs? I thought before loosening my grip on my ears. NPOV Naruto. Kakashi and the customer glared at Sakura. Sasuke slapped his ears because of the annoying ringing. Naiko pressed her ears to her head and tucked her tail, whining in pain. Kakashi slapped her on the back of the head. Naruto walked up to the scattered scrolls, picked up one that was lying on the edge on the right. Opening it, he made unknown seals and put his hand in the center of the drawn symbols. Pills and a bottle of mineral water flew out. Naruto walked up to his favorite. Naiko opened her mouth and the boy put one pill in. Naiko swallowed the medicine, and Naruto gave her some water to wash it down with. Having done all these procedures, the redhead took his favorite and put it on his head. The fox immediately began to snore. She was not visible because her fur perfectly blended with the red hair. Kakashi's POV. Otudo went to ask for permission to interrogate, and here, Sakura started to rage, praising her idol, whom, except for Itachi's revenge, she doesn't want to know anything else. The customer didn't seem to like it. As far as I know from Naruto's internal library, the Noyoko clan was close friends with the Wave Country. There, this clan was considered the savior of this country. Flashback. In Naruto's subconscious, there are 3 people. Well, how to say people? 1 child with hair the color of fox fur, 1 jounin with hair the color of silver or ash, and a large fox with 9 tails. The boy is peacefully snoring lying on one of the fox's tails, while the fox and the jounin are having an interesting conversation. Kakashi, Kurama-san, tell us a little about your clan, Kakashi asked. The fox nodded approvingly. Kurama, I can't tell you everything yet, but I can tell you one story, the fox said and covered the boy, who continued to snore on one of his tails, with the other like a blanket. And lowering his head onto his paws, he began his story. It was a long time ago, 200 or 300 years ago. At that time I and my clan were traveling around the world in search of a place to build our hidden village. But soon we came across a village that we attacked. We are not unfeeling creatures and heard how animals and people were asking for help. We could not pass by and headed towards the cries. It turned out to be a rich village at that time, but there were no shinobi in it at all. The village was called the Land of Waves. When we arrived, we were horrified. The village was all on fire, and the women and children were crying. We immediately identified the enemy and used clan techniques. Our women helped the victims, while I and my warriors fought the enemies. The battle lasted for a day, and it was hard. But we emerged victorious, and defended the Land of Waves. The settlement was destroyed, and we decided to stay until the village was rebuilt. We helped with the construction of buildings and treated the injured. And in 2 weeks the buildings were rebuilt, and the wounds were cured. That day our clan became a friend there, and I became a patron. But we had to leave and go in search of a place for our village. And we left that beautiful place. End flashback. End POV Kakashi. Chapter 12. Meeting Zabuza Momochi Kakashi got the information he needed and was already heading to the customer to talk, when Naruto stopped him and started whispering something in his ear. Kakashi just nods. Naruto conducted Naruto therapy with his brothers, and the missing Nin promised to improve. The team continued on their way. The road to the river was fairly calm, but Naruto, Kakashi, and Naiko still remained vigilant. When the boys came to the river, they were met by a boatman. Everyone got into the boat, and the boatman began to row. The journey along the river was quiet until the boys saw a bridge. Sakura squealed with delight. She was surprised by the grandeur and beauty of the bridge. But Naruto and Kakashi hissed at her to be quieter. "Boatman, young lady, I ask you to be quiet. We may be being followed, and in order not to give away our location, I am deliberately rowing instead of turning on the motor," said the boatman, shutting up the restless Kanechi. Naiko kept her ears pricked. Such a command of the fox worried the red-haired and ash-haired. Approaching the shore, the passengers hurried to leave their means of transportation on the water. The boatman wished them luck, turned on the motor, and sailed to the opposite bank of the river. Rizik and Kakashi did not like this, but continued their journey. After walking a couple dozen meters, Naiko rushed into the bushes with a roar. From there she brought a white rabbit. Naruto took the animal from her beloved light. Kakashi became wary. Kakashi thought balloon, white rabbit. In the summer! Kakashi, get down! The jounin shouted, knocking the customer to the ground. Naruto, in turn, pushed his teammates and jumped into the air. Where the redhead should have been standing, a huge sword flew past and crashed into a tree, entering the trunk halfway. A man half covered in bandages landed on the hilt of the sword. Zabuza, oh ho ho! What a big catch! Masto is the builder I need to kill, the last Uchiha, a copy ninja and an assassin and psychologist of the missing Nin. I'll get a good price for your heads, said the swordsman. Naruto, Zabuza Momochi, I believe, one of the swordsmen of the Bloody Mist. Naruto stated rather than asked. Zabuza, wow! This is an honor for me. After all, the fox god himself knows me, Zabuza said, giving the ribocho cubes, made of wood. Naruto thought balloon, where is your partner? The redhead asked mentally, while he was looking for outside chakra. Sasuke, what the hell is this fox god? The last Uchiha voiced his question. Zabuza, don't you know? The swordsman asked, raising one eyebrow in surprise. The fox god, or Orange Death, is the best psychologist or killer of missing Nin. After talking to him, many dangerous criminals corrected themselves and took the right path, but there were also those who did not want to listen to him, and then they died. He has killed many dangerous criminals, including 4 of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Explained missing Nin, and Sakura and Sasuke looked at Naruto with disbelief. Naruto thought balloon, found it. The redhead thought and took a fighting stance. Naruto, actually 5 swordsmen. I'm only missing 2 swords in my collection. And soon the ribocho cubes will return to its true owner, said the red-haired boy, and the clearing was covered with fog. Nisan, protect Mr. Tazuna, and I'll take care of the swordsman. Naruto shouted, and Naiko increased in size. The battle began, in which both opponents were equal. Neither was going to give in to the other. Zabuza also used water clones and tried to attack the bridge builder, but Kakashi repelled all the blows of the swordsman's clones. After about 50 minutes of intense fighting between the 2 demons, Zabuza began to run out of chakra, while Naruto had 3 wagons and 1 cart of chakra. Haku noticed this and launched 3 saban at the swordsman's neck. Zabuza fell dead. Haku, thank you for helping us catch this dangerous criminal. I will take his body for further research, it has many secrets, the young man said as he picked up the swordsman's body. Naruto, thought balloon, and I thought you wouldn't get out. The boy thought to himself, and nodded approvingly, like, take it, I don't need it yet. The boy in the mist Anbu mask disappeared into the Shunshin, and the team continued on to the builder's house. At home, the team was met by Tezuna's daughter and his grandson Inari. After lunch, the teammates began to pester the redhead with questions. Chapter 13. Battle on the bridge. The torture lasted for about 3 hours. Naruto's nerves couldn't take it anymore, and he started to have a nervous tic, and his left eye started twitching. Naruto approached Kakashi and passed the baton of torturing his teammates to him, and he himself went into the subconscious. The boy wanted to discuss some things with his father. Kakashi, with a martyr's face, cursed the redhead for leaving him alone. Sasuke got tired of this senseless torture and went to train elemental techniques, and the girl continued to nag the sensei. About 2 hours passed. Sakura fell behind her sworn brothers and ran to stare at Uchiha. Kakashi approached the red-haired boy, who had come out of his subconscious half an hour ago, and spoke. "Kakashi, this girl is so clingy," the man said, rubbing the back of his head. "Naruto, and these Morazmatics also set up bookmarks on me for falling in love with her," said the boy, opening his violet eyes. Kakashi looked at the redhead with obvious regret. The boy looked back. "Naruto, it's good that Dad took off the bookmarks in time, otherwise he would be running after her like a faithful poodle," said the red-haired boy, and Naiko jumped into his arms. The boy picked up the animal and began to scratch her tummy, and the fox began to yap cheerfully. "Naiko, how's the reconnaissance?" the boy asked the laughing animal. Naiko began to yap something. "I got you, you're a great girl," said the boy, taking a mouse out of the sleeve of his kimono. The fox, jumping cheerfully from the hands of its owner, began to jump, begging for the desired treat. "Naruto, Nisan, Zabuza is alive, but he needs to restore his chakra. So we have about 5 days before he recovers. Train this sweet couple, and I will guard the bridge, plus my clones can help with the construction of the bridge," the boy said, and the man only sighed from his grief, but still nodded. At this rate 4 days passed. With Naruto's clones, the bridge construction had clearly progressed. Today, the entire team and the bridge builder's family were having dinner together. Sakura was still following Uchiha, and the rest were sitting quietly eating delicious food. Suddenly, the architect's grandson jumps out from behind the table and starts screaming at the top of his lungs. "Inari, why? Why are you training? Gato will kill you anyway. There are no heroes, so tell me, why are you training?" the boy shouted. Naruto looked at the boy with a regretful look. The boy ran up to him and hugged him tightly, seeking support. Rizek hugged him back. "Naruto, that's it, calm down. Let me tell you a story?" Naruto asked, to which Inari nodded. "Well, sit down and listen. There lived a boy who had neither a father nor a mother. The villagers hated him because of the huge, terrible beast that lived inside the boy, but the boy had support in the form of the head of the village and the ANBU looking after him. When the boy was 4 years old, Shinobi tried to kill him, who wanted revenge on the terrible beast sealed in this little boy. And so they managed to drive the boy into a corner and began to steadily avoid him. One of the shinobi was ready to make a fatal blow with a kunai, but he was thrown back by a wind technique. It turned out to be the same ANBU who was looking after the boy. He saved the boy and took him to his home. At that time, the boy was in his subconscious where he heard a majestic roar. The boy went towards it and found himself in a large room with a golden cage. 2 blood-red eyes peered out from behind the cage. And then a majestic voice. The boy realized that this was the very beast that made him hated. But he didn't hate it, and even understood it to some extent, because he was also considered a monster. He realized that the beast just wanted freedom, and he was constantly sealed and used as a weapon of the village. The beast told him the whole truth that had been hidden from him for 4 long years. So the boy learned that he had met his biological father, and his mother had sacrificed herself to protect her child. The boy realized that he might never see his mother again, but he had met his father, and that was enough. For him, his mother was a real heroine. So Inari, remember, take care of your mother, because she will do anything to protect you. Rizek finished his story. Inari realized that his father was a hero, and he had sacrificed himself for him, and the people dear to him. He swore to protect his mother at the cost of his life. The next day, Naruto woke up from the noise in the kitchen. Going downstairs, he heard Inari's hysterical scream. Naruto hurried to go down faster. When the boy went down, he saw two renegades who were trying to carry away Tazuna's daughter. Naiko jumped on one of the criminals. Naruto created a clone and they knocked out the renegades. Soon the boy hurried to the bridge where the hottest battle was in full swing. Having run to the place, the boy saw how Sasuke was fighting with the same Anbu of the Mist, who took the body of the criminal last time, and Kakashi was fighting with Zabuza. Soon the black-eyed one was locked in a dome of ice mirrors and Naruto decided to help him. The red-haired one penetrated the dome and used the bijou cloak with 3 tails. The mirrors burst from the internal pressure and an Anbu man flew out of one of them. The porcelain mask shattered with a tinkle and the world was left with a young man's female face. Naruto looked towards his adopted brother and saw the legendary Chidori technique. Haka also looked there and saw how the Konoha man raised his hand charged with lightning for a crushing blow. Even the Anbu rushed towards his opponents with all his might, and when he reached his goal, the hand with the technique of singing 1,000 birds pierced through his body. The boy fell dead. "That bastard deserves it for paralyzing my hands," said a voice that was quite familiar to Zabuza. It was Gato, a short dwarf in an expensive suit. He walked up to the dead boy's body and kicked it. "Zabuza, and here I thought you were strong, but you lost to some kids from Konoha. Well, weaklings like you shouldn't live," the dwarf shouted, and about 100 assassins appeared around him. "Naruto, Zabuza, don't listen to him. Are you really going to let him trample on the honor of your sworn brother? I'm talking to you now as a psychologist. Haka gave his life for you, so don't let him trample on his honor." The redhead shouted and they heard him. "Zabuza, yes, Fox God, you are right. Haka considered himself my weapon all his life, while I considered him my little brother. And I will not allow the memory of him to be trampled," the criminal shouted. Then he turned around and looked at the red-haired man. "Here. This should serve its true master, and please give me your kunai," the man said, handing over the Ribocho cubes to its true owner. The boy took the sword and handed over his last kunai. When Gato heard the boy's nickname, he ran, but he didn't get far. Zabuza managed to cut down half of Gato's army and headed towards the shorty. 10 seconds later, the dwarf was dead. Almost the entire street was filled with the metallic and unpleasant smell of blood. The Konoha guys dealt with the remaining army, and everything would have been fine. But Naruto could only control the 2 tails of the bijou cloak until today. The boy fell to his knees, holding his head and growling in terrible pain. Naiko jumped off her master's head and ran to Kakashi. The man grabbed the fox and separated his students from Naruto. The boy screamed louder and louder in pain. A bubble chakra began to come out of the boy's stomach and began to form a human figure with fox ears and 9 tails. When the chakra finished forming, a stately man in an orange kimono with black patterns and a fox on the back, long red hair almost reaching the ground and 9 tails sticking out from under the kimono stood in front of the boys. As soon as the man stood firmly on his feet, he opened his bloody eyes and rushed towards the boy with fear, who was tormented by a headache. "Kurama, Naruto. Son! Listen to me, breathe. I know it hurts, but I also know you can do it. Come on, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale." The boy tried to do as his father said, and soon fell unconscious. The children looked at this creature as if it were the 8th wonder of the world. "It seems to have calmed down. Can Kakashi check on him?" the man asked, lifting his son's head. "Kakashi, of course, Kurama-san. It's my pleasure," the guy said and walked up to the unconscious boy. Tazuna walked up and bowed to the patron of the entire village. "Tazuna, Kurama-san, it is an honor to see the savior, as well as the patron of this village," the bridge builder said and bowed. Kurama bowed back. "Kurama, I am also pleased to visit this village after 300 long years, and meet the author of this masterpiece," said the 9-tailed pointing to the bridge. "I think that these 2 should be buried properly," said the kitsune pointing to 2 lifeless corpses. The residents agreed with the patron's opinion. After the funeral of the 2 apostates, the bridge was completed and named after the great clan, Noyoko Bridge. Chapter 14. returning home and the history of chakra creation After the bridge was fully built, the team and Naruto's new father set off for Konoha. Sakura was wondering who this handsome man was. Sasuke was walking and thinking about his own. Naruto was still unconscious. Naiko was sleeping on Kakashi's head while he was having an intense besida with Kurama. Kurama in turn was carrying Naruto. Sakura, excuse me sir, but what is your relationship to Naruto? The pink-haired beast asked, blinking her eyes. Kurama, I am his father, the kitsune said as if cutting it off. Sakura, then why do you have ears and tails, and Naruto doesn't? She asked, and was pierced by a look of eyes as red as blood itself. Kurama, he is a half-breed kitsune, that's why his ears and tails appear at will, said the kitsune and continued on his way. Sasuke asked his question that had been tormenting him since the man appeared. Sasuke, why did you get out of Naruto? He asked. Kurama stopped. Kurama, why shouldn't I get out of my Jinchuriki after 13 long years of imprisonment to help him? The kitsune asked back. Everyone except Kakashi didn't understand what the man was talking about, and Kurama continued. I think you know about the 9-tailed demon Kyuubi that attacked the Hidden Leaf 13 years ago? He asked and received nods of confirmation. So, I am that very Kyuubi. The children were stunned. But I did it not of my own free will, but under the control of the Sharingan, he said and glared angrily at the Uchiha. Sasuke gulped at such a look, and Kurama continued. I didn't want this fate to befall my son, to be a senseless puppet and used as a lifeless thing. Naruto is currently being hunted. When he said this, everyone who was listening to him fell into a stupor, and he, Kurama, continued to speak, looking at his sleeping son. Akatsuki and the head of the root of Umbu are hunting him, and all for one reason. He is my Jinchuriki. But I am no longer in his body, and if these organizations find out that he is half Biju, then it will end very badly for him. The head of the root will want to seal him and subjugate him, and use the Akatsuki instead of me if they do not find me, he said. Sasuke, use it for what? Uchiha asked another question. Kakashi, I think I can tell you, said the previously silent Jounin. Sakura and Sasuke looked at their mentor expectantly. Kakashi, having made sure that they were listening to him, continued. I think I'll start from the beginning of the story. Long ago, when there was no chakra in the world, there lived on Earth a very great and powerful clan that bore the surname Otsutsuki. This clan was literally a clan of gods. In this clan there lived a girl who bore the name Rabid Goddess Kagaya Otsutsuki. Sasuke, what does this have to do with it? Uchiha interrupted his mentor, for which he received a smack on the head from Kakashi. Kakashi, don't interrupt your elders. So, this girl at the age of 20 found a tree of life, on which only one fruit grew. Kagaya plucked it and ate it. So she became the progenitor of chakra and such Dezutsu as the Byakugan in the Hyuga clan and the Sharingan like you have in the Uchiha appeared. Sasuke again wanted to interrupt his mentor and ask another question, but Kakashi, noticing this, gave him a hefty slap on the back of the head. I'm not finished yet. Having eaten the forbidden fruit, Kagaya began to go crazy. The tree, feeling that its fruit was taken away, began to mutate into a huge 10-tailed. Kagaya had 2 sons, one of whom was Hagoromo Otsutsuki, or otherwise the sage of the 6 paths. Hagoromo and his brother, seeing that their mother was going crazy, decided to seal her. Thus began the battle of sons and mother, in which the brothers won. They sealed Kagaya on the moon. But in this battle, Hagoromo's brother died. He divided the 10 tails into 9 parts, 1-tailed, 2-tailed, 3-tailed, 4-tailed, 5-tailed, 6-tailed, 7-tailed, 8-tailed and Kurama-san or 9-tailed. The sage also had 2 sons, Indra Otsutsuki the eldest son and Ashura Otsutsuki the youngest son. Indra was very talented. He learned all the techniques very quickly and was the best in throwing combat iron. And Ashura, so to speak, did not know anything. He learned the techniques with great difficulty, as well as the theory and throwing of combat iron. But nevertheless, he achieved incredible strength with his work. Hagoromo recognized the younger one as his successor. Upon learning this, Indra became angry with his brother and a war began between them, which later grew into a curse. The curse was that after their death, their reincarnations began to compete, continuing an endless war. Indra and Ashura also created clans, Indra the Uchiha clan, maybe some other clans, Ashura Uzumaki and Senju, and maybe some other clans. At the moment, there is an organization called Akatsuki. This group of first-class renegades close to the power of the Kage. They are collecting tailed beasts for a project called Eye of the Blood Moon. They want to plunge the world into an eternal Tsukiyomi to stop the warriors. And since Naruto is a half-breed Biju, his blood is much more valuable than an ordinary Biju. His mother was from the Uzumaki clan, and they were considered chakra demons due to their large reserves. If Akatsuki finds out about this, they will stop hunting all the tailed beasts, because essentially he alone can replace all 9 Biju, and Akatsuki will want to take advantage of this. After all, what does it cost to spend about 6 years collecting all the tailed beasts or to catch 1/2 Biju in a few days? Chapter 15. Meeting the cousins The rest of the journey was spent in silence. Everyone pondered what they had heard. Arriving in Kanahagakuri, Kakashi and his 2 understudents headed to the residence to report on the mission they had accomplished, while Dad, his son, and Naiko headed to the Forest of Death. Rizek slept until the next day. In the morning, Naruto was torn from the sweet embrace of Morpheus by his father, who decided that the best way to wake up his child was to throw him out of bed. Rizek got up rubbing his bruised side, but did not complain or whine, because before that he woke up thanks to his father, but while Kurama was in the subconscious, the boy got up from the screams in his head. The boy immediately understood what his father wanted from him, and went to the nearest lake to get himself in order. After water procedures, the boy went to the clearing, where he felt his father's chakra. Arriving at the improvised polygon, the father began to teach his child clan and other techniques. But if earlier the boy was trained only by scrolls, and now the fox personally took up the training of his son, because the exam for Chunin is just around the corner. The remaining month passed in training. And then came the day when Naruto was attacked by his so-called student, whose name was Konohamaru. Konohamaru, brother Naruto, I created my technique. Who should I test it on? The boy asked, jumping up and down from the taste. Naruto thought about it, and his eyes fell on the teammate he hated so much. Naruto, and you see that pink-haired one? Naruto said, pointing at the log. Konohamaru got the hint, walked up to the girl, pointed his finger at her so that she would pay attention to him. Sakura, brat? What do you want? The log asked arrogantly. Konohamaru got angry at the way she called him and immediately used his technique, turning into her adult copy, but without breasts at all. The girl got angry because of this and ran at the suicide bomber. He rushed from the spot and ran away from the enraged beast with laughter. Naruto also laughed watching this picture, but heard Konohamaru scream as soon as he ran around the alley. Naruto thought that his student had jumped too much and immediately went there to pull out his careless student. Turning the corner, he found 2 strangers. Judging by their protectors, they were from Suna. The guy was holding Sarutobi Jr. by a large scarf, and was moaning something about how he did not like children. The girl with hair the color of wet sand tried to calm him down. Naruto immediately felt drawn to these 2 and realized that they had some relation to the once great Uzumaki clan. The guy approached them and snatched the boy. Konohamaru, having said words of gratitude to Naruto, ran away in an unknown direction. Rizek, having seen off Sarutobi Jr. with a glance, turned his attention to the foreigners. Naruto, okay, now you. And yes, boy, you can stop hiding, I sensed your chakra. As soon as Naruto said this, a guy with red hair and bags under his eyes came out. Whoa! I didn't think that relatives would come, said Redhead, widening his eyes. The trio looked at him, not understanding the meaning of what was said. Naruto only touched the seal on the redhead's forehead, and Gaara, meanwhile, did not understand why the sand did not protect him, as it happened to the others before him. A second later, both guys closed their eyes, as if both fell asleep. And Kankuro and Temari did not understand what to do and how to react, so they just stood there. In Gaara's subconscious, the boys were in the desert, where a huge raccoon was sitting and drowning in a hole. It turned its crazy eyes on them and spoke. Shikaku, ah! my jailer. Just come near me and I'll tear you to shreds. Stop. And who is with you? And why do I sense my older brother's chakraing you? The raccoon asked, not understanding. Gaara didn't understand and was shaking with fear. Naruto didn't even flinch, but just smiled and began his conversation. Naruto, oh my god, Uncle Shikaku! Don't you recognize your nephew? The redhead asked, and his smile grew wider. The one-tailed and Gaara didn't understand what was going on until a fox almost the same size as the one-tailed, but a little bigger, appeared in their subconscious. Kurama, hey, raccoon! How are you doing? Said the fox. The raccoon only twitched harder, but only sank deeper into the quicksand. Naruto, who put such a shitty seal? Uncle Shikaku, let me fix the seal for you, and you won't torture this guy anymore? And the poor guy already has bruises under his eyes, said Rizik, and the sandy one only turned his gaze to the fox, asking a silent question. Who is this and how is he connected to you? Kurama only snorted skeptically and looked at the red-haired one with a softness not typical for a Biju. Kurama, meet my Jinchuriki and also my son and your nephew Naruto, said the fox, and the raccoon looked in shock at the guy with long and red hair like fox fur and violet eyes. He only waved his hand as if saying hello. And the raccoon thought about his offer. Kurama, by the way Naruto, said the fox, drawing his child's attention to himself. These three are your relatives. I feel that Uzumaki blood flows in them, said the fox, and Naruto only rejoiced. Then the sand demon got into the conversation. Shikaku, hey nephew. I agree to your offer. I'm tired of constantly drowning in this hole. Get me out of here quickly, Shikaku begged. Naruto folded several seals and put his palm to the forehead of the already calmed boy. Then the hole disappeared, and in its place soft pillows for sleeping appeared, and on them lay a contented raccoon. Shikaku, ah! That's awesome. Thank you, nephew. And hey kid, what's your name? Shikaku asked, turning to his vessel. Gaara, hello, Bija-san. I am Sobu no Gaara. May I know your name? The boy said